hives, have 2 queens for 3 or 4 months because there's a mother and a daughter in there. The virgin hatches, the first 10 days she mates, comes back, so she lays eggs, the mother lays eggs. Eventually the mother disappears, so that's natural requeening, by the hive itself. Most bee hives do that, but not all beehives do that. If they're going to swarm, they usually build about a dozen queen cells, and they build them as queen cells. They're often on the bottom edge of the frame. So if you see 12 queen cells in a hive, or thereabouts, built as queen cells, it's time to do something about it, otherwise you're likely to lose a swarm. If you leave it go, the first queen hatches, she kills the other 11 cells if there's 12 there, and the old queen, a couple of days before they hatch, takes off with half the bees, and that's what we call the prime swarm. Sometimes if the hive's super strong, one of the virgins will not be killed and she'll take off, and that's called an after swarm. It's usually a small swarm. The swarm's got a virgin queen in it because she makes it the first 10 days, but as soon as she hatches she'll go with the bees that are left, some of the bees that are left in the hive, and they usually fly very high because she's a good flyer. Queen bees normally, or they can't fly if they're laying eggs. They stop laying eggs, and that's how they can fly, take a swarm out. If you accidentally kill the queen, so we accidentally kill a queen today, the bees panic. Because the egg that produces a worker is the same as can produce a queen, when that egg hatches into a larva that's under 24 hours of age, the bees reshape that cell because it's in a worker cell, and they might build 30 odd cells on the face of the comb to replace the queen. In that case the hive won't swarm because the original queen's killed. The first one hatches, kills the other 29, and 10 days after that she'll start to lay and become the mother of that hive. So is that fairly clear? We've got to supersede your cells, don't do anything, it's only 3. You see 12 or so cells, or 15, that depends on the strength of the hive, how many they build. They're going to swarm, they're called as queen cells, you need to do something about that. If you kill the queen, don't do anything, the bees will build a lot of cells, feed them quickly, and replace the queen that's been killed. But there's a gap because they convert eggs 24 hours, a larva 24 hours of age. So an egg's an egg for 3 days, then it turns into a larva, so that's 4 days. They hatch within 16 days, so it's 12 days for the cell to hatch, and another 10 days for the queen to mate. So the hive's without a queen for 22 days. So there are any questions about?
They won't swarm when there's no queen? They won't swarm then when there's no queen for those 22 days?
No, they won't swarm because they need a queen to swarm with them.
Yep, all right.
Yeah.
Yep. So thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
So what would you do then if there's
Well, we're going to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to open hives up and do all that. I've seen a shade in an apiary, but we'll have to get a big circle because there's a lot of people here.
Will the 12 be together, or will you have to
No,
take
just
every frame to have it?
Yes, they're not only on the one frame. They
So
can
you
be
have to take out every
any
frame?
frame. You've got to look at every frame they will look. Yeah.
Bruce, in the instance that we had a few swarms off the one hive last year, if we did a really big split first, so you're basically splitting it in half to start with and getting all the queen cells out, is that better?
Yeah, that'd probably stop it. So some strains of bees, perpetually want to swarm, and you don't get a lot of honey off them because if you lose half your workforce, and that's the big problem with the flow hive. The biggest problem with the flow hive is, you only get 2 boxes if you buy a flow hive, a brood box and a super. And spring they build up population. Unfortunately these hives are pretty weak here, which is unfortunate. But, so they build up in the spring before the honey flow starts. So thin nectar and pollen causes bees to swarm because the population builds up. The thin nectar generates heat because the bees have got to evaporate the moisture on it, that generates heat. And with the flow hive often they swarm in the early spring, so you've lost half your bees before the honey flow starts. So the honey flow starts after spring normally.
I've got flow hives, but I've actually put another box on top.
You're smart, good.
Oh, no.
No, there should be, at times there needs to be 2 supers on a hive.
Well, yeah, but I wanted to sort of, I'm a bit worried about one of them because the bees are just going berserk, and I thought that they might swarm. Will the queen lay in that next, I've got in the middle box, you know,
Yeah, you've just got normal frames in the super. Normal frames, not flow frames.
That's right, there's, yeah.
Yeah, the queen
I've
will
got
lay.
two-
Yeah, there's no excluder, the queen will lay up there.
And what do you do in those 22 days when they're just
Just
going
leave
to
it.
sell?
Just leave it. There's no flow. But the risk is that if a virgin gets lost and eaten by a bird or something, that hive will die out because there's no larva in there that the bees can convert the queen to.
No, the time frame then is too long.
Yeah, too long.
So you need to get yourself a queen.
Yeah.
Can you not transfer another fish?
Yeah. If you're more than one hive, you can put a frame of brood in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, a few questions. The last one was, I have very angry bees. I guess the thing is, do you have a queen in there? If the queen is there, then I don't think there's terribly much you can do about angry bees because that's ring queen, yeah. But if the queen isn't there, hopefully they've got a queen cell and they're in the process of replacing the queen. So in that case, just leave them alone and let them get on with it.
And you don't have to find the queen. So if you're not going to find the queen, how do you know there's a queen in the hive? Larva, yeah, okay. So you just need to look at the frame. You know, see larva in there, and eggs, and that means the queen's present. You don't have to actually physically find the queen. But some strains of bees are really aggressive. So you need to be able to re-queen those hives.
You don't have to own up to write the question down. So anyway, so just read it. Dead bees outside the hives with their tongues stuck out. Hive has lots, I'm not sure, but it has honey and nectar and lots of bees. No signs of pests. So that's.
So they could have been poisoned, right? Because most pesticides nowadays are stomach poisons. Because they're stomach poisons, the bees try to regurgitate and get rid of that poison. So if bees' tongues are out, it's a symptom that the colony's been sprayed with something. But in an urban area, bees in a colony wake up, they do a dance, the scout bees, they go to find food, but they'll find food in an urban area in many different places. So some will go to grevillea, some will go to wattle, some will go to cotoneasters, whatever, some will go to roses. So if someone sprayed their roses, the ones that go to the roses, may get back home and they're dying at the hive entrance. But most pesticides nowadays are so deadly, the bees don't get back to the colony, so therefore the colony's protected. Years ago we used to use chemicals that were slow killers, and they get back into the colony and you'd have massive deaths of hives because of that. So if I see a bird with the tongue out, it's usually an indication they've been sprayed by someone spraying the garden. There's been a small percentage of that population gone to those roses if that's what the problem was.
Rightio. So this one, next one's I have an ideal on my brood box, but the comb has turned quite black on a couple of frames. They haven't been laid in by the queen. Why has the comb turned black? That could be a symptom of
Should be larva. It should have. Combs don't go black unless it's been brood laid in them. On some stage. Sorry. No, it doesn't make the combs go black. No, it doesn't. I was showing frames this morning, where a section of the comb was black, and that's where brood had been. Because as each bee hatches, she leaves a cocoon. And by leaving a cocoon, that makes the cell black. And if you've got a scalpel and a microscope, you can cut the cell off, and you can say this cell has had X number of bees hatched from it, like the growth rings in a tree. So it's normal to replace combs where the queen's laid eggs in every 2 or 3 years, because the cells get slightly smaller. But I don't know of any reason why combs would go black if there's never been brood in it.
The next question concerns swarm control. So I guess we'll leave that to when we all get outside. Without splitting the hive, and then with splitting the hive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So deal with that outside. Yeah. Okay, after that, when adding a box, do you move honey frames from the base box, the brood box I assume they need, up to the next level, or just new frames? I guess that depends on the time of year. If you're still on the tail end of winter, coming into spring, I would be inclined to leave the honey frames down in the brood box. If it's later in the year, then you'd be looking at trying to cycle some of those honey frames out of the brood box and bring them up higher up, but that's just the outside frames. And then put new frames into the middle of the brood box and move everything sideways.
Yeah, and if you don't have suitable frames, if you've got ideal supers, then you've got a full depth brood box, which is quite often normal. Frames in the bottom that are full of honey, you can extract and put them straight back in the hive. Because brood nests can get honey bound, and you have too much honey in the bottom. And particularly if the queen's old, she lays less eggs, therefore they put more honey in the bottom. So from September onwards, it's unusual weather. I didn't have my own, right? So I extracted some of my brood frames last week. They're on the wall, were totally full of honey. Just extracted them and put them straight back into the hive, for the queen to lay in. As Ian said, you don't put them back on the wall, you put them in a bit, provided there's sufficient bees in the brood box to cover the frames. So we talk about the strength of a hive, not the number of boxes on it, it's the number of frames covered with bees. So that's important. And you need enough bees to cover the frames, in the brood box. Before you do that.
I've seen a few drones on my hive. Is this natural? Yeah. I should hope so.
Very much so this year.
Yeah.
If you leave the bats drying, there'll be no drones. But, and queens often stop laying in cold areas, so you think there's no queen in the hive, but if the bees are docile, there is a queen in the hive, but they go totally out of the brood. And the same in Europe. But here, this year, I've had drones in hives right through, which is not normal. Occasionally, middle of winter, there's no drones in the hive. They still breed 12 months of the year in Sydney because there's protein. So bees need protein to breed. In inland areas, there's often no protein because it's too cold, so they go out and brood. So, I wouldn't worry. Drones are normal.
I was just going to say that I inspected my hive last week, and one of the frames was maybe a third, almost a half drone cells.
Yeah, they're
Like solid. Yeah. Put it back in. Let them go. Overactive bees and walking around front of hive with wings spread.
Overactive with their wings.
How do you know they're overactive? What defines overactive?
They're all active.
Was it a warm day? Was it a really
It's like a fanning or something. So
This morning,
This morning?
4 or 5 of them walk around the front.
Oh, only 4 or 5? Oh.
that's
Fluttering
their
wings. 10 or 15.
that's not abnormal.
No, just out and walking
like they're airing themselves.
Well, it's maybe airing them, but it looked like hello.
Promenade.
It's only a few.
Well, they might have their scent gland, like the guard bees have got the scent gland in their tail, and they sometimes expose that to tell their sisters to come back to that. But that's not abnormal for bees to sit at the front and do nothing. Because they're guards. But if a bee goes in with food from any hive, they'll take it, and we'll do that today, right? I'll grab bees from one hive, put them in another hive today. There'll be no fighting, nothing will happen, right? That's how you can even hives up. But if a robber goes in, they'll get attacked. So I'd say they're waiting for a robber to come in to attack them. It's not unusual.
Is that because the robber is empty? The robber bees.
Yeah, the bees can sense robber bees coming in because they've got no pollen on their legs or they've got no nectar in their stomach. So the bees have got 2 stomachs, a food stomach and a nectar stomach. There's 2 different things. The bees coming in with nectar, you can grab them, squeeze their abdomen, and they'll regurgitate that nectar, and you can taste it on your finger, you know they're getting nectar.
Yeah, honey and bee vomit.
Milk! That doesn't come in the stomach, it's no problem.
Fine.
No, I'll just stick with the one. Maybe get another one.
Yeah.
I want to try and get the...
Oh, what? You usually don't get this many. No?
What's that?
You usually don't get this many.
They're looking like they're starting to go, hey,
Not casuarina, because casuarina burns too quick. So pine needles are by far the best. If you can't find pine needles, that tree there, that paper bark there is really good. That's bilberry, good for nervous, so you can get that, break it up, and that's really good smoker fuel. There's a bigger one down the bottom there. The tree up the top there is tallow wood, which is part of the stringy bark family, and that bark is also good for smoker fuel. So the three options around here: tallow wood. There's heaps of tallow wood around. A lot of this stuff grows in the streets around the place. Get that, and there's not that many, pine trees around. Pine needles. The advantage of pine needles is huge amount of smoke, and it's easy to put out. That's the big benefit. Easy to put out. But it's a fire hazard, as we all appreciate. Then you put more in. So I'm lighting this smoker right in the bottom. And it's a cool smoke, and it'll go for a fair bit of time, depending how much fuel you put in it. But anyone goes, Tumut, Bathurst, Goulburn, places like that.
Bangalow.
Bangalow State Forest. No, there's no pine trees there.
Yes, there is.
Is there? Is there? Oh, okay. On the highway. Oh, just as you turn off, is it? Okay. Right. So that's your best protection. Now, if you don't wear gloves, if you smoke your hands, that tends to repel bees because of the odour. I can go home, I used to work for the Department of Ag, go in the office and say you burnt the bees because you smell like a bee smoker. We used to have to work at the show when I was at Ag College, now we smell like cattle. so that tends to repel bees. So that's a trick. Hardly any beekeepers wear gloves. So if you smoke your hands, that's a big advantage. So the other thing that people don't do is smoke the bees. Smoke does not hurt bees. So you've got to aim the smoke at the bees, and that's critical. You smoke over the top, you might as well not use the smoker. So the first thing you do when you open a hive up is tell the guards you're coming. So you smoke the entrance like that. Like that. So that tells the guards I'm coming. You then lift the lid up, like that, puff under the lid like that, put the lid back on like that. So we've now got smoke going in the bottom and the top. So what that does, bees, we think there's a fire coming, so they'll tend to gorge themselves on nectar. So nectar's in the open cells, so they're sucking up nectar. Because they're sucking up nectar, they're happier and less likely to sting. We'll open another hive up. So this one, I'm going to talk about how to find a queen. Easy. Further than normal. I'll probably do 2 or 3 different methods. But one of the methods is you shift the hive. Right? So if I'm going to shift this hive to find this queen, what's going to happen? If I shift this hive down there, the field bees that are flying around now are going to come back here, and it's usually the field bees that are more aggressive than what we call nurse bees. So you're going to get rid of a big percentage of your population, so therefore you've got less bees to look at to find the queen, and you got rid of the cranky bees. And in Africa, where they keep bees in trees and logs, which are the African races, not the Africanised, they lower the log down on a pulley to the ground to rob it. But they wait 10 or 15 minutes, all the old bees go up the tree, hang up there like a swarm, and they rob the hive down here because they're more aggressive bees than ours are here. So we're using that principle, but with these hives. So I won't open this up because we're going to talk about swarm control in a minute. So I just want to shift this hive down there, and I've got a cardboard box there I want to put in its place. So I've just got a loose spot.
They're not screwed. Okay, so you have to get the whole one.
I've got the bottom.
These will come back here. They go out there, come back here. They'll stop coming back here.
Yeah, so in your backyard, you can do that if you've got a creaky hive, or you want to reduce the number of bees you've got to look at to find the queen. Okay? That clear? Righto. Yeah, okay, so because of biosecurity, we're using different smokers and different hive tools on each hive in the apiary here. We're not just using one smoker, whereas if you've got your own bees, you're just using one smoker. Provided you know your bees are healthy. So that's why we've got a delay. So if bees are going to swarm, you know, they're going to have good flight, but these hives are weak, so it's a bit hard for me to do it. So you can tell which is the strongest hive by looking at the flight of the bees. Provided all the bees are in the sun. Like that bottom one this morning had the best flight because it was in the sun.
What do you mean by the best flight?
The number of bees going into the hive, right?
Okay.
So we can go back there later and you'll see some bees have a lot of bees going in, some won't have many. So that's how you can tell without opening the hive, you know, roughly which is the strongest. To tell how much honey's in the hive, you can just grab, if it's got a strap on it, grab it and lift it up, and that'll tell you how heavy it is. So you can do that with those other hives over there, and we can pick out which is the heaviest one. But the weight doesn't always relate to the number of bees in the hive, but it's a good indication, right? The flight is the best indicator. So we've got to wait for a smoker. Right, so once again we smoke the front, we undo the strap. So if hives have got straps on, we're going to put this at the back or the front?
Back.
Front. Because I'm not going to stand at the front, right? So when you work bees, you don't stand at the entrance. Like if I stood like this, these bees are all confused because how many of us here. There's bees coming in, because I wasn't there when they come out or when they went back in again, they're like the distinguished. So you never work a hive at the front. You always work it to the side. And when you take the boxes off, you don't put them at the front. You put them at the back, right? So once again, puff under the lid, take the lid off, just stick it down there, thanks. Very cool.
Bruce, you should see the activity on that cardboard box already.
Yeah.
No, I need that lid.
The activity on that box already.
Flat.
I'll deflect to put
No,
it on.
no, upside down. So, okay, so when you take the lid off a hive, you know, botulism, which is a human disease, bacteria, you know, can kill people and also babies. So you don't want to put anything, you know, on the ground where you're going to take honey off. So you always put the lid upside down at the back. Trees in the way. Like that. Like that. Upside down, right? So then, that way, right? So just to look at this, there's no bees up here. Yeah, that's a frame of honey that's capped. One bee there. So we'll take this off. So put the hive tool there and lift up like that. And we sit that at the back there. Right? One beetle. So with the excluder, you know, I go above the excluder and I push down on the hive tool. I don't lift it up, because if I lift it up, I'm going to damage the excluder. Right? And the guy that, you know, had brewed above the excluder, you know, could have damaged the excluder somehow. And the easiest way to damage the excluder is with a hive tool. Right, so I put it there, so I'm going to push like that. By pushing like that, I lift up that super. So if I put the hive tool there and went like that, I can damage those wires there. And I can break a plastic excluder by going up. By going down, I'm not going to do that. So I go under there and lift it up like that, not down like that, because I'll damage the wires. Take that off like that. Right.
Yeah, right, upside down, in case the queen's on it.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's the other thing, right? So if I took that off like that, that was on like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That. And I lifted that up and I put it there, and the queen was on there, she'd go into there. But if I tip it upside down and she's on there, she can't go in there, right? And these cross wires, there's no right or wrong way to put it on, right? You put it up anyway, but I always put the cross wires down because they'll stick it to the bottom box. If I put it on the top, they're more likely to stick it to the super, the excluder. Right, so this is, so we've got trouble. Okay, so.
Wind's coming up.
Okay, so that's honey and a bit of nectar, but there's not, it's not going to. If fresh nectar's coming in, you do that, the nectar will shake out. So I'm going to stick that there, against the tree there, so it's not on the ground. Right, so this is honey bound, so it's still honey there.
That brewed you.
Okay, before I forget. Right, so I've got bees sucking up nectar there, ones with their head in the cell. So if I catch one of them by the wing, I can get it by the wing. I might not have sucked much up yet. They're furiously sucking up nectar because the hive's disturbed. So I catch it like that, and then I get it by the abdomen and squeeze it. Right, see that nectar?
Come out of mouth.
Anyway, it's coming out of her mouth and she's flying away. Right, see there's nectar.
That's how the beekeepers go.
Right, so there's nectar on my fingernail. That fingernail, shiny. Right, so that's how you milk a bee. Shiny on that. See, it's shiny on that. Oh, so you just catch them.
You can't do it if you're going to.
You catch it like that. And you might get stung. And just squeeze it. Sucking up nectar from a cell, right? But you can catch them at the front and do the same thing. Okay, so we've got a problem here. So I'll just have a look and make sure this hive's light and if it's got a queen in it. Right. So there's a bit of brood there and pollen, like that. So to tell if hives are healthy, you've got to shake the bees off, because by doing that I can't see every cell. So I just get the bees and just go bang, 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 like that. That shakes the bees off and then I can see every cell. So this hive needs requeening. In the first 10 days of their life, she gets 7 million sperm in a spermatheca, and when she wants to lay a fertilised egg, she releases the sperm to fertilise the egg. If queens get old, they run out of sperm, and the queen will lay eggs that aren't fertilised, and they're only going to produce males, right? So I pass this frame around, and we'll see here where the matches. On that side. There. Probably there. And there. There. And there. Okay, so they're worker cells here, but you'll notice that they're extending 1, 2, another one there, 3, 4, 5. I haven't marked that one right. So the queen thought she laid a worker egg in those worker cells, but she didn't fertilise it, so she's running out of sperm. So that's a reason why you'd requeen a hive, right? So I pass that around. The rest of the brood's all worker. They're worker cells, but they're bulleted up because there's going to be a male come out of those particular cells. So that'd be a reason to requeen that hive. So eventually that queen will totally run out of sperm, and if they don't replace her, the hive's going to die because she's only laying eggs that are producing males. Yeah. See if we can find the queen. There's a drone here. See if you can see the queen there.
Oh, it's another one, yeah.
There's another one there. Yeah, good.
Any eggs? You seen any eggs, Bruce? Not yet.
Oh, there would be. Yeah, there has to be eggs.
But there's space, isn't it? Yeah, there's a lot of those raised ones.
Yeah, there's eggs here.
A few drones there.
Where's the queen though?
Fair few drones there.
So I'm just looking for the queen.
Would that queen be marked or should
I don't know. Do you want to?
It's probably on this one coming.
I just want to try and find the queen. So one way to find the queen is to just go through the hive slowly and look at every frame. So the queen's definitely here. This is brood.
Find her.
Just got to find her. There's eggs there, yeah. Yeah, she might be. Yeah, I might need it. Oh, got it, just. So these are real races.
She must have been back there hiding somewhere.
I don't know where she is. Not yet. That's the problem. I should. Yeah, the queen's definitely here. Where is she? So it's a matter of just going through and looking. She could be on the bottom. She could be anywhere. We can trick them. Oh, no, we don't.
I don't think she would be because she's...
They're mongrel bees, so I don't know.
Why do you say they're mongrel bees?
Well, because they're not true to race, right? So they're all colours. So there's black bees and there's yellow bees, and that's an indication she's met with many drones, but not necessarily her own race. She might have met one with her own race and others not, because the bees all vary in colour. Whereas a pure hive, we'll try and find a pure hive later on, the bees will all be a uniform colour of the same race. So a way to find the queen is to shake the bees out. So there's no queen there. So we can't see the queen on the bottom board there. You can get the smoke and puff it. Right, so you can put the excluder down. Yeah, well, just give him a bit of a puff. There's a queen's not on the ground there, right?
Do you want excluder?
Yeah, I want the excluder on the top of that bottom board, please.
Beetle trap in the way there.
No, that's drone.
No, but the beetle trap ain't going to sit right now.
Okay, so we'll have to do
Yeah, I think the beetle trap is higher.
Yeah.
They're going underneath.
Yeah.
so what we're going to do now is we can't find the queen. If you just step back a bit, please. So we're going to shake the bees out, right? So you just... Yeah, I'll shake it.
Wait for
Okay, So no bees there, no queen there anyway, right? So put that back there, like that.
It's on, yeah.
Move the frames back in. Sorry?
The excluder.
No, the excluder's on the bottom, right? So what's happening now is, tell me what's happening.
We'll trap the queen.
Yeah.
Should be on the bottom somewhere.
So the queen, if she's out there, where I've shaken them off, will go back in. The bees will go up onto the brood, and the queen and the drones should only be the ones underneath there. That clear, everyone? Yeah. Because the queen is bigger.
How long will that take to occur before you can actually...
Well, we'll be back in a
2
minute.
minutes, just a few
Oh, no, no. You look, go and have a cup of tea.
Yeah, yeah.
Put it out. Yeah.
Yeah. While you've got it all taken apart, would you clean the wax off the top of the frame?
You can if you want to, yeah. Yeah.
This one is with the babies.
That's brood. Yeah. So we're putting them back together with the brood together.
Just honey and
That's just honey.
the last one.
Right. And you're putting that board in the front. Where have I put a frame? To make it easy when we get back.
Which frame?
One more missing.
The top?
There's one missing.
One's got the brood on it. Who's got the
One doing the round still, right. No, when you're finished with it. Okay, so I put that board there so they can go up. So see them running in there now? No, someone saw that the queen was running out on the edge there.
go in for the brood, not for her, don't they?
Yeah, they'll go in because of the brood, not because of her. That's right.
She won't fly now, will she?
No.
No, no. Okay, so we'll come back here in a minute. We'll go over, find another hive, and I'll split it.
Should be too heavy to fly.
Yeah, laying queens can't fly. They'll take them away. Right, so you buy a queen, they come in an envelope, and they are mated. But the queen breeder doesn't know what males they met with, right? So if it's a queen breeder, they try and put a lot of hives with males in them by putting drone brood in the hive to mate with their virgin queens. So So this is another method you can use, to find your queens. So it's easy to find queens when there's less bees to look at. You all agree with that?
Yeah.
Less bees you have to look at. So you just go to your hive in your backyard, and you want to get the minimum number of bees in that bottom box. So the way to do that, without what we did just a while ago, swapping them around, right, is to smoke them up, right? So I puff the entrance like that. You just leave it vent. Yeah, sometimes I can get the smoke. There's smoke coming out the top there.
Yeah, there's smoke.
You agree?
Yeah.
It's coming out the top.
Yeah.
No fire. Right, so that's a trick you can use to chase the bees out of the bottom box before you actually look for the queen, right?
And they'll go up. They go up into the super. Is that what?
Yeah, they'll go up into the super. The smoke's chasing them. Right, so the smoke's chasing them with that smoke coming up like that.
And the poor queen and drones can't escape.
And that's how we do things called package bees, right? Sell bees by the kilo. That's how we do it. Smoke the bees up from the bottom. So when you sell a package, which is like a swarm in a box, you got bees of all ages. By smoking the nurse bees up above the excluder, right? And you only shake the bees above the excluder, but I don't want to lose anything. Probably get another subject won't be. Right, so I'll keep doing that for a while. So that should hunt the bees out of the bottom box. It's not the best day to do it, right? Okay, so now I then go to look at it, right? So I take that off, like that.
Why do you say it's not the best way?
Well, the weather's not
effective.
The weather's not the best, and the hives aren't strong. And, there's a lot of issues. So there's not many bees come up, right? But that will work, right? And often you find the queen on there because she's trying to get away from the smoke as well. So you need to check the excluder. Often you see the queen sitting on there.
Unless it's swimmers got there.
Right, now, you don't need to use a lot of smoke, but you need to use enough to control the bees. You can use too much, they'll all fly and go stupid. So when you're looking for queens, you don't want the bees racing round like that other hive did. You want it stable on the comb, so you've got a better chance to find the queen. So then to find the queen, we just that, lift the frame out and look at it to see if we can find the queen. And good light and good sun's important. And we're not shaking the bees off, right? So I don't see the queen there. So I can put that at the back. Okay, so you need to look there, you need to look at the bottom bar. That's the bottom bar down there. You need to look at all the bees. But you're not shaking them off because you're looking for the queen, right? It's not there. Right. So you put that one back there if you want to, because you've got a gap. They don't always run across gaps, but sometimes they do. Here. Someone sees the queen, tell me.
Oh, here.
There,
She's
right?
marked, yes.
White dot, Emmanuel.
I got it wrong.
She got a yellow dot, right?
Yeah.
So that queen's got a yellow dot.
Won't be the last.
So is that nuke box? Someone get me that nuke box. I had a nuke box. Someone doesn't mind bringing it down for me? Right, so that queen's got a
She doesn't mind him saying come with us.
got a spot on it. Right, so everyone's seen a queen or not seen a what's there?
Oh, no, you're
Little young fella there.
She's got a yellow
I'll catch her in a minute. I'll catch her in a minute when I get the box. Okay, so we just take the lid off that box. There's another box inside there.
So when you practice, you're confident.
Anyway, you can pass that round. That's the queen, right?
What did you put in with that?
No, I just
thought you
blocked the
pushed
end.
another-
I blocked the end.
Oh, a bit of wax. I thought you were shoving another
There,
bee in
no,
there.
no. Okay.
But does this method work where you can put a lot less bees on there if they...
Yeah, hunting the bees up. Yeah. And they're a bit cold. Right, okay, so we assume this is a strong hive, right? So this is a strong hive, and we want to stop it swarming.
Pass it around.
We can turn the hive around, and we want to stop it from swarming. So to stop it from swarming, how come we can split it, right? So what we call a split. So I've got another box there.
That's a new one, we'll put that back in.
Right, over the entrance.
That's new.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
So
checking.
it can be,
Some bees.
full size blocks or whatever. So to make up a nuke, I put a frame of foundation. Right, that's the comb foundation. It's having some plastic, but it can be waxed. So I put that in there like that. So I put that in there. What else have I got to put in there? Honey. Right, so a frame of honey. Frame of honey with some bees on it. Fine. A frame of capped wood. Right, so we'll say that's a frame of capped brood. Right, that's capped brood. Because that will hatch fairly quickly. So it takes 21 days from the time the eggs laid for worker bee to hatch. So I put this in, it's got capped brood in it, it's going to hatch. So I've got an even population of bees I've made up here. Putting that in there like that. And then in here, going with comb foundation, or drawn combs. Okay. So the bees are going to come out of here, the worker bees, they're going to fly around, but a lot of them are going to go back into this box here, because that's where they orientated to. It's confusing now. They're all in the new box. They're going to the new box. So they're going to the new box because it's rotating. So you'll see some starting to go in. So I just dropped her in, they kill it.
So you've got to leave her in that, put her in and...
Yeah, so you've got to put her in that, and the pretty thing when you put it in there, you put that spout up at the top, not at the bottom, right? So if you put the spout at the bottom, and if some of the workers that are in there with her die, they can block that off, because you can't get out. But being up there, they won't block it off. Right, so I just put that in there like that, and in there like that.
Can you just describe what you're doing?
I'm recoiling.
Yeah, but you're putting it in like that, we can't see it. So if you could just describe.
Oh.
You're just squeezing it in between two.
Yeah, so you put it in between two frames,
And you just
with the
squash it
spout
in.
up, and no cork in there, right? So it might come with a cork in there, so you pull the cork out there, so the bees can chew through that point in, right? So I'm doing that, in there, get in there.
Do you make your queen candy or?
No, it comes with queen candy when you buy the queen, right? So you can see that, that's how you do it, right? Like that. If it's really hot weather, you can put a clod of dirt on the lid so that the queen doesn't get cooked with the heat. Not like having, but just a clod of dirt will insulate it. Right? So that everywhere.
Is there a good time to put a new queen in?
I'd wait till October, right? Because there's not a lot of queens, not a lot of drones around there. If you get a better mated queen, you get it delivered in October as opposed to September. The beekeeping journals advertise queens for sale about $20 each. They're already mated, they're in cages like that, or similar. Cages can be a bit size, can be the main thing is the corking is clear. You can't get it to be to
Get out.
well, I put that in that lock up. See, they're going around the field there. They're already going around, just leave it like that. And then 10 days later, you come back and check. What is there?
The worry, of course, is you order a bee, a queen bee,
Bees
and
are
you
going back
can't
to
find the old queen.
No, the bees are going back to that island.
What happens if you can't find the old queen and you're hanging around with the queen bee? And
Well, that's why we're doing that one. And we're doing this one. Yeah. Because it's queen, so that makes sense. The point of doing in that swarm. So they haven't had the hair rubbed off. So when they go out, they get into flowers, the hair gets rubbed off their flowers. So that's how you tell they're nursing well. Yeah. So just put this back.
And do their wings become more ragged?
Yes, it does.
Is that another thing?
Yeah, that's another thing too. Yep. Good point. Yep. We want to have the hives facing the same way in our backyard. Right? So I get this and I shift it to there, like that. And I get a handful of leaves or dirt, grass, and I throw it in the front. Why would I do that? I get some leaves and I stick in the front here, right? Across there. So when they wake up in the morning, they're going to see there's something different. If they wake up in the morning, they just go straight out, they think they're going there. Because they've got to walk through that bit of grass there, they're going to tend to reorientate to that spot, right? And then the next day or the day after, I turn it around again, back to there, right? So now I've got the hives both facing the same way, they're loyal to both those entrances. So I can leave them like that if I want to, or if you want to shift this one down to here, just leave it for a couple of days, you can shift it down to here, and then you've got them apart.
And then will they go to their rooms?
Yeah, but beekeepers put bees on pallets, right?
Yeah.
So commercial beekeepers have got them just like that, right? Like that. That's a full hive, that's a full hive. And they work in each one.
So it doesn't matter if you like that.
No. But in your backyard, I mean for convenience, you might want them slightly lower. So you just got to do it slowly to do it that way. Okay.
And you do one set hive established within yours.
So from
Yeah.
from your first move, when you put a branch in front to disorientate, and then you moved it to the second stage, you wouldn't disorientate them to once again.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you
So,
could.
so
Yeah.
they come out.
Yeah.
Yes, it's different.
Yeah,
come out,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it's different.
Yep. And then
So for that, what,
yeah,
a day or
yeah.
two?
Some of these pull the frame out, leave it for a while, so the field bees go back home. Now we know these are healthy. We know this hive's healthy, right? So if I shake them there, like that, what are they going to do? See how they're starting to go in?
They're just following the rest.
Yeah. Shoot and shoot. So some are fanning.
Oh yeah.
And the guards aren't, there's no one attacking them.
Even though they smell differently.
And they're totally different, but because they're going in, not trying to rob anything, they'll go in. And I mean, if you puff them a bit, they're going a bit quicker too. But
They be nurse bees, you think?
yeah, these are all nurse bees, right? Because I left this frame out,
Yeah.
and there's brood on it, they're nurse bees.
Oh yes.
And by leaving it out for 5 minutes, all the field bees have gone out to go to work, so they're not on here.
But they're not bringing any food in, so why aren't they
Workers, extra workers.
No, but they're not robbers.
Extra workers.
They're not robbers. They're not bringing food in, but they're not robbers.
They know that.
It's the robbers they kill, whether they're bringing food in or not.
How they know they're nurse bees? They've got a uniform on.
Well, no, they're not
No,
they're
they're just friendly bees.
Just friendly, and while they've been out, they've sucked up a bit of nectar anyway. So they have got some food, but they haven't been out. You're right, they haven't been out in the field or anything, right? So we'll come back in a little while. We'll try and find the queen over here. Then we'll find they'll all go in, and we won't find any dead ones. Okay, because this queen was in this hive, I can just let it go back into this hive, right?
Is it a good idea to paint your queen? Or
Yeah. Right. So we need the lid. Yeah, that must have been.
Have you seen any drones in here?
Just one or two, yeah. What, do you want to know what drones look like?
I've seen it, but he wants to.
Oh, okay, we'll find some of them.
The drones are mostly going to cover the warps up there.
Hey?
Like
No,
the
they're
drones
in
are
hives.
mostly-
That's it, yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of pollen coming in, Bruce.
Yeah, that's good. So the traditional way, you know, most people go to find queens is puff the entrance, puff under the lid, take the lid off, put it at the back, and then go to the bottom box, right? So the other way you can do it to get rid of some of the bees is to puff it, fair bit of smoke. Then it's got a strap on it. You can tip the whole thing backwards. Number of straps on it. Okay, so it's got a strap on it. It might not be long enough. Okay, so I'll just have to do it by theory, right?
Nice going.
So, because that's oil in there, right? So tip it over at the back, and when it's over on its back and the bees don't all race out, I crack it there. So all the bees are still in this box that were in that box. And I've only got the bees in here. Yeah, I'm not taking the lid off. Right, I've got to undo the strap when I tip it backwards, right? So they're easy to get apart, right? If you've got a hive that's hard to get apart, if you tip it over backwards, it's easy to get apart because you're not lifting the weight up. Is that clear? Right, we can't do that because of the oil. Okay.
Why they got the oil in there?
Beetlebugs.
The beetlebugs, so the bees can step with the oil, but the beetle
I
don't.
need to put this. Okay, so this is a reasonably strong hive.
A lot of drones caught there. And
Some drones caught there, so there's been some brood up. There's no queen there. Just one other thing, with 10 frame hives, you normally only put 9 frames in them. You don't put 10. With 8 you put 8s in because they get too tight and they're too hard to get out. Or the same in the super. If there's only 9 frames in the top of a 10 frame box, it's easy to uncap.
Is that in the brood box as well?
Yeah, both. Yeah. Second frame from the wall's easiest to get out. Right. So once again,
Although Bruce had styrene one up there, got there. It's a generous 10 frame, and they don't.
Oh, okay, it might be all right then.
Yeah, they've actually expanded the size.
Yeah.
They're good.
So if you have a look at these bees here, you know, they're hybridised too. They're not pure to race. You can grab it, you'll be safe. But the other side's probably better. Right, so I'm trying to control the bees still. And if you get used to having a smoker like I've got
How come they hybridise? Because they're darker?
no, multicoloured.
They're not all the
They're
same.
not all the same race. So 3 races of bees. So some of the drones from a different race are mated with the queen. If you carry your smoker like this, yeah, you always got it with you.
I could never work out why they had those shields around the outside until I saw a documentary, and there it is.
Oh, I thought you'd work that out, no trouble.
You know what a burning bee.
No trouble, Ian.
She's got the same things
Same
here.
things happening
Do you
there,
think
yeah.
she's failing?
Yeah, yeah.
Even though she's kind of
Yeah.
It makes it hard to walk if you're waddling up it.
Yeah, I can't believe how hybridised these bees are. So they must have swarmed.
Yeah, even though she's got so much brood, do you reckon she's failing?
Well,
No, they're not drone brood. They're not drone.
That she had.
they're drone cells there though. They're in drone cells.
They're not drones in worker cells.
I'm looking for the queen, that's what I'm doing. Right, so when you look for the queen, you just go slow, like that.
There's no big deal about that. These are mixed.
No, it's not a big deal, but you can't breed from them, and they're often more aggressive, and they're more, seem to be more agitated.
All right.
See how these are running around? Whereas that hive there wasn't agitated as much?
Drone cells in drone cells. Drones
That's
in
drone
cells.
and drone cells.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't see the queen there.
So do you do anything with those drone cells?
No, no, no,
Let them
no.
go?
No, no.
You can get 2 minutes.
See, they're getting a bit of nectar today, right? So, see when I shook that?
Yeah.
That's fresh nectar. That's how you can tell if your bees are getting fresh nectar. By shaking the frames like that.
The drone cells smaller than the queen? Bigger.
No, bigger here.
Smaller.
They're down on the bottom. They're on the bottom. There's a couple on the bottom there.
Oh, yeah. Because they look like queens, so the queen's a lot bigger than much larger.
Oh, it's peanut shaped. Queen cells.
Frame with broken legs.
Yeah.
Wax a lot.
But see how these bees race around, it makes it hard to find queens.
Yeah.
This is what our bees are like, so they must be crossed with the other
Maybe.
Not a good time.
And you wouldn't would you requeen this one now because of the
Yeah, I would because of the bees.
of the okay.
And the bees racing around like that.
What about because of the drone cells? Is that normal to have the drone cells like this?
Yeah, that's normal. That's all normal. That's all normal.
This is the one you just marked.
No.
No, not this one.
No,
That was the other hive.
that was the other one. Can't see the queen there? I can't.
But you want, you do,
Are we seeing eggs? Or?
Yeah,
There's lots of kept
yeah.
eggs.
There's a lot of
When they're working, they're like,
She's moving it too fast for it. He's got eyes of a champion.
Are they all drone cells?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're drone cells on the top
But
there.
they weren't.
Yeah.
You can split this hive as busy. Drone cells in the middle of the comb. They're not worker cells with drone in it. I don't think.
Yeah, so, if this had another box the same as this with bees in on the second box, you could split it. But this is much stronger than some of the others. This was the one that was flying the best this morning when I got here. But it was in the sun. There's the queen.
There it is. She just
Got
got
a
around
dot
the
on
other side.
Oh yeah, here she is. Do you want me to?
Right?
Yes, she's got a spot.
She got a spot?
Yeah, she's
Yellow.
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 How big she is,
A
man.
little belly on it. She's laying, eh?
Yeah, she's good. I don't does anyone want to really see a queen? They better, I'm happy to come here, but I don't want to pass it around because she might fall off on the ground, right?
You'll lose her.
So see her there?
She's a good
So if you mark them, they're easy to find, right?
Different colours too.
Different colour too. Looks like a yabby. Yabby.
Right? They're easy to find when you put a dot on it. Right? Just there?
You mind if I just get a quick photo?
Yeah. Right? Just there.
Sweet, yep. Cheers.
So they stand out when they're marked, but when they're not marked, they don't stand out as well.
And if the queen's there without a dot, you know, suspect they might have sworn, not a queen.
Yeah, that's right. You can tell, you know, if you've got the same queen. And if you want to, I mean, you can cut one wing off if you want to, carefully with scissors. Yeah.
They won't kill her if she's. If they default, no, the other bees. She's not.
What they say is, I don't know, I've never done this, but if you clip their wings, that'll slow them down.
Oh.
So maybe just at the end.
So we're keeping the brood together and we're putting the frame of honey out on the outside. Other way. No, around the other way.
Do you want this way?
Yeah, they're more likely to work on that if it's facing there. Yeah.
That's when you start to consider culling because of the dark combs.
Yeah, so you'd cull some of these combs. Yeah, because these bees are running around stupid, I tend to recoin them. You know, I've only caught the queen because I don't want to kill her. You know, if I put her in on a frame, I can squash her. But by catching her, I can just drop her in and I know she's safe. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to, none of you have to catch a queen, right?
No, it's better squash it.
Unless you want to kill them. Right, to kill them you just squeeze them. Now some people throw them away. Some people, when they kill them, put them in the hive to re-queen, so the hive knows the queen's dead. Doesn't matter.
But if you put a new queen in, you wouldn't put it back in?
No, dead. Some people put it back in, they're dead.
And
they know.
Yeah, but some put them back, they're dead, and the bees can lift their own weight. They'll cart her away and drop her off. Yeah, yeah. But some people dig a hole and bury them.
And actually, some people use them in a blender or a mortar and pestle and grind it out and mix it with alcohol as a swarm attractor.
Yeah. But see, she can't fly. She walk around my hand. She can't fly.
To attract swarms.
Right?
Doesn't work. But if somebody re-queen our hive, we'll just kill her and
one's a blender and the other one was just grind her up and make up a
so,
paste with alcohol.
There you go.
In a bake box.
No, just put it back in the hive.
So the next time I've got to do this is in Uganda.
We'll do it.
So that'll be interesting.
Why Uganda?
I've been asked to go to Uganda and teach some queen rearing.
You can use
what?
Teach queen rearing in Uganda.
Got some drones on the top there.
And we're better off to just do one thing at a time, I think. Yeah, but because Penny's away and Neil's overseas, I volunteered to help. But I'm a member of the illawarra anyway.
Thanks very much.
Isn't that one that one up there, Bruce? They've all settled in there. The queen's under Excluder.
Yeah, I'll let the queen go above this.
Let her out. I missed that. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.